What's going on, guys? It's been a while, again, I know. Sorry about that, but UnOrdinary Season 2 Part 2 is literally right around the corner. It's about to come out. And so, before everything happens, and before we get the amazing return of my favorite webtoon, I wanted to go over a few predictions and hopes that I have for Season 2 Part 2 coming up in this next chapter of UnOrdinary. Uru-chan has been working so hard on this next part of the series, and I'm so glad that she's going to be returning. And I'm expecting some big things to happen this next half of Season 2, just with the amount of reveals and everything that have come out, essentially. But yeah, especially, with the cliffhangers and endings of, I believe we left off on episode 231? 231 or 234, actually. That's right, it was kind of a big one. So we had some stuff going on there, and it's just, oh man, I am so excited. Anyway, so let's go ahead, let's just stop rambling, and here, I'm not going to be able to list all of my predictions. I will probably mention them as we go along throughout the rest of the season, but these are some of the big ones that I think will be happening this season. So, you guys know the drill. Let's get into this. Uru, if I'm correct, or if you end up using my predictions and my ideas of what's going to happen this season, you know what you got to do, Uru? Send me my check. Anyway, so let's go ahead. Let's get started right off the bat with our main boy, the one and the only, the best character in the series. Let's go ahead and start with John. Now, John is actually kind of an interesting character this season, I think. It looks like he's finally turning things around with trying to become a better person. And I think that's going to be a really big deal this season, because I think we're still going to have some bumps along the way, but I do think for the most part, we are finally getting to John finally becoming and accepting himself. Now, however, with that being said, Uru did release a recent key art of the news for the second half of Season 2. And in that, I kind of took note of some really strange things, or rather, what I think could be hints as to what's to come in this season. Now, first things first, I think that John is honestly going to be the only active main character at Wellston. Now, I don't think everyone else is going to drop out necessarily, but I do think that everyone else is going to be a lot busier with the rest of the things going on in this season. And I think that it's going to be up to John, essentially, to run Wellston finally. He is finally going to have to take on his role, his title, his responsibility as king of the school. Now, why do I say that? Well, the poster art for this second half of the season is right here, as you guys can see. But John is the only character in this shot with his uniform on, and usually, when Uru does these kinds of arts and everything, everyone else is, in their uniforms. I mean, Serafina has been the poster child of UnOrdinary, and she's always been in her uniform for these promotional things and such. But John is the only one this time, and so I do think that due to that, I think we'll get into that more when I talk about it for these characters, but I do think that Remy, Blake, and Isen are going to be busy doing with vigilante things, as we can also see with the key art for this next part. I think Arlo is going to be entering the authorities finally. He's going to be taking that first step like his Aunt Valerie recommended, and I think there's two possibilities with Serafina, but I'm only going to mention this one right now. I think that Serafina is going to be a lot more involved with Spectre and with Layla this time around. So, yeah, I personally think that that John is going to be the only student at Wellston this next part. I think that he's finally going to have to own up to his title as king, and I think he's going to have to run the school to kind of teach everyone. And I'm really looking forward to that. Now, I do also think that John will definitely also get wrapped up in the other storyline. I do think that, especially with Sarah, because she said that she would catch him up on everything going on when he got back, because she didn't want to do it over technology. She didn't want to make sure anyone was listening in on her. And also, I'm like, look, something, as much as I do despise Arlo, something I've been looking forward to ever since the apartment arc, or the apartment chapters. I've been looking forward to the return of John and Arlo actually working together, fighting side by side, especially now that we have the added bonus of Serafina finally having her ability back. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm really hoping that we get to see the god tiers act together. We already have the poster that Uru made of them. You know, we've had the trio for so long, Remy, Black, and Isen. We've had them working together for so long. We've seen what they're capable of together. But all three god tiers of Wellston, like, teaming up for once, like, I think that's going to be an absolute banger and a half. Anyway, so that's what I think is going to be going on with John mostly. Anyway, let's move on to Serafina. So, I noticed that in the promotional art that Serafina looks a lot more mature and professional in her outfit. So I do think she's going to be becoming more active with Layla and with Spectre. So I think she will probably be leaving school for a bit and going with them, like for more tests and everything, because, that was part of her agreement with Layla. Like, they'll help get her ability back to full capacity, and Serafina helps them out with their research and everything. So I do think she's going to be busy with that. And I'm starting to think, because Layla did also tell her, hey, don't be pushing yourself like when you get your ability back. So I do think maybe Serafina's ability isn't necessarily back at full capacity. And I honestly do think that there will be some bits throughout the rest of season 2 where, she loses her ability again. Kind of like she pushed herself too hard, so she can't use it for a few days or stuff like that. But I do think it will be interesting, and I'm hoping that Serafina gets back to full power soon. So yeah, that's really all I'm thinking. Oh, also, I do think Serafina, if she doesn't get involved with Spectre, I do think it's actually kind of a big possibility. Well, not a big possibility. I don't want to say that, especially with what I'm going to say next. I do think it's possible that Sarah actually joins up with Arlo at the authorities, with going to the authorities. I think that could be possible. Like, she could try to, like, secret mole that, like, become a secret mole in it to figure out what's going on for everyone. Now, I think that's not as likely to happen, just because of how suspicious it is. Sarah got in contact with the authorities to try and help her, get her ability back, but to no avail. And I do think if they figured out, oh, she has her ability back, she wants in on us, that might look a little suspicious on Serafina's part, and they may suspect something, and they may do something to her. So, yeah, I don't think that's a big possibility, but I do think it is still a possibility nonetheless for Serafina this next part. Now, Arlo. I think there's going to be two possibilities happening this season with Arlo, and I do think the latter is the more likely option, based on what we've seen from Arlo in the last part before season 2 ended, or before the first half of season 2 ended, I should say. Now, these possibilities, clearly Arlo is going, I do think based on outfit alone, Arlo is going to start getting involved in a role with the authorities. Now, whether that be directly under his Aunt Valerie, or, she starts him from the ground up, I'm not too sure. But there does seem to be a bit of nepotism, so I wouldn't be surprised if Valerie did get him directly under her in a pretty high position. But also, she definitely does want to keep an eye on Arlo at this point, based on their last conversation. She thinks that Arlo's getting distracted by everything around him, so she wants to try and control him a little bit, it seems. So, first possibility for Arlo is that he goes to the authorities, and Arlo reclaims his title as the series villain. Arlo just gets basically like, you know what, authorities, I'm in control now, I like this. Like, you know what, no, like, we're done. Like, I'm with the authorities, I'm with my aunt, I stand by my aunt. What I think is more likely to happen with Arlo is that he kind of goes his own way. He joins the authorities, but only, again, like kind of what I said with Serafina, as a mole for it, to try and uncover what's really going on with everything. And it especially seems that that's going to be happening because it looks like Serafina could become an inside for Spectre, try and figure out what's going on with them, while Arlo becomes an insider for the authority, or an insider for the Wellston gang in the authorities, to try and figure out what's going there. Find out the truth about Ray's death, which Aunt Valerie may be directly responsible for, or at least some definitely embers, which we know are connected to the authorities at this point. And I do think it would be interesting to see Arlo finally going his own way and, just kind of finding himself. As much as I don't like this character, I do think, a step in the right direction for Arlo is finally realizing that everyone around him has been right to be skeptical of the authorities. That's just me. That's what I think is going to be happening with Arlo this season. Now, Remy. Now, the X-ray return is not something I was expecting, but I'm all for it, actually. The X-ray arc, as much as I don't like Remy, the X-ray arc is actually, honestly, one of my favorite arcs in the series. I do think it was pretty cool to see Remy, step out a little bit, basically take action into her own hands, as she always has. And I think it's going to be really cool, I think we're going to see some major power-ups for Remy this next part, too. However, one thing that Remy absolutely needs to do, Uru, if you are watching this, please write this down if you haven't already. Remy needs to finally reflect on Alana's death, because she never did. Remy never acknowledged that she got a woman killed that night. The people who were reflecting on it were Blake and Isen, and Remy never acknowledged it. Remy seemingly didn't care that she got a woman killed. She doesn't, fine, she really should. Before they make the decision to go out again, Remy really should bring up the fact that, hey, last time I got a woman killed, and I don't want to put anyone else at risk like that ever again. So if we're going to do this, we need to think everything out perfectly. Or we need to make sure that we don't put anyone else in risk, because I'm not going to let what happened to Alana happen again. And if she gets someone else killed this volume, or this next part, she's done for me. There will be nothing... okay, this is hypothetical. But if Remy gets another person killed without reflecting on how she got Alana killed, I'm going to say it right now, she's going to be done for me. If the X-ray thing backfires horribly again and Remy gets someone killed, that's it. I'm just sorry, Remy, you are done. You are now my least favorite character in this series. Now, I'm not saying, Remy gets someone killed, or I'm not saying if anyone dies in front of Remy, that's someone, the next villain they go up against, they have someone hostage and it was completely out of Remy's control. They had this hostage from the start and they kill him then. That's not Remy's fault. I'm talking what happened with Alana. Remy's yo, show me your supplier. And then she's okay. And then the supplier's Now, that's all I'm saying. If Remy, gets someone else, it tries to get someone else in, to help her out, and that results in that person's death without her reflecting on Alana, Remy's done for me. Now, back to what I said at the beginning, where I think John is going to be the most active main cast member at Wellston. I do think, other than him, Remy is actually the closest to being the most active in the school this season. She could also still, I'm sure that everyone will still be busy at school in some capacity, but I do think that Remy is kind of also taking responsibility right now for the school, making sure that things are kind of okay for everyone. We saw at the end of 234, her and another student helping someone in the infirmary. Now, so I do think that, her taking on the role as queen once and for all, or continuing the role as queen and taking charge of the school, I do think that's a big possibility. And yeah, I think next to John, she will be the person who's at the school the most this next part. And honestly, I do think building up Remy and John's relationship, I do think that could be cool, actually. I think that's a really good dynamic because they're both very driven characters. They have a lot of similarities. Well, everyone's kind of similar to John in some aspect. But I do think the Remy and John friendship, if it can be friendship at this point, I do think that's a really interesting thing to build it into and look into. So yeah, that's my thoughts for Remy. Now, second best character in the series, Blake. Now, the nobody return, just like with X-Ray, intriguing, really good. I don't know if he's gonna be out back at the gate, because beginning of episode 234, we saw that he still had a few days of his suspension. So I'm not sure if it seems like, based off of some images that Uru shared on Patreon, it seems like we are kicking straight off where episode 234 ended. So I think Blake is going to be absent for a little bit. And I do think Blake is going to take on... This is one I just thought of. I think John is finally going to let Blake have the role of Jack for the school. He's done with Cecile. He's absolutely done with her. She's done with him. But I do think that Blake will finally regain the role of Jack. If John just doesn't flat out reject the role of king and say Blake, you can be king. I don't want any role for the school. But I do think John is king. Sarah is ace, John is king, Remy is queen, Blake is Jack. I think that's entirely possible. Now, I'm definitely expecting Blake to run into Cuyo again. Maybe he'll try and introduce Remy and Isen to him. They will meet him again, but we will talk about that more when I get to the Cuyo part. So yeah, with Blake, I do think... I think there's a lot of room. I do think there's definitely a lot of stories for Blake that can be told. But right now, I think that Blake is a pretty done character. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that Blake can't grow any further beyond. But I do think that Blake's arc... I think that Blake's arc for any other series, I think it would be complete at this point. Blake has grown a lot throughout this series. And so I'm honestly not sure what else could be done for Blake at the moment other than, him getting stronger, learning more about his ability. Other than, I guess, him and John finally becoming friends. Now, I think that's a much bigger bridge to build than Remy and John. But Blake and John becoming friends is something I've wanted since, they moved in as roommates together. And, hopefully John will let Blake come back to the dorm so he doesn't have to sleep on the floor in Isen's room anymore. But yeah. That's all I have for Blake, really. Like I said, I can't think of much else. Now, Isen. Now, based on, again, the key art, it seems like Isen is taking on the role of the guy in the chair. We've seen that a lot in recent superhero films and TV shows and everything, where the people who are actually out on the field, taking care of the rescuing and saving the day and everything, they always have a guy in the chair to back them up. Now, it seems like that's the role that Isen's going to be taking on this next part, based on the key art alone. And Isen is another character that I don't really care for at this point, but maybe he actually does get something this volume, or this next part. Why do I keep saying volume? I don't know. But I'm honestly not expecting much from Isen because I never do. However, he is the last character of the main cast, the main 6 characters of UnOrdinary. He is the last character who is still an elite tier. Yeah, an elite tier. Elite tier? I think it's elite tier. Anyway, I think it's very likely that Isen finally reaches high tier, and we will have all 6 main characters as high tiers for the series. Yeah. That's it for Isen, really. So, here we go. So, moving on to other characters. These are just kind of real quick quips. Some will be longer than others. Now, Doc. Doc, I do think we're going to see Doc in this next part. And honestly, Doc just leaving like that kind of hurt me a lot. I honestly didn't expect Doc to just abandon everyone, or not really abandon. I can't say that he abandoned, but I didn't expect Doc to just up and leave like he did, apparently. So I do think that we are going to see Doc again. However, I think he might get involved with, because he got a job at Zetasai, if that is the company's real name, or if it's Spectre. Now, I don't know why, but I have the strangest gut feeling that the next time we see Doc, he may actually be an adversary. I think it's possible, again, I don't know why, but I think it's possible that Doc becomes a part of Spectre in the side that is opposing Layla, that basically tried to stop her from helping Serafina. I don't know why, but something is telling me that Doc is going to become kind of an antagonist of the series. He's going to, become opposed to like what Layla's doing and everything, and just be like, you know what? Nah. So, next part. This is a big one right here. And I could save it for later, but I'll just say it right now. Let's talk about Headmaster Vaughn. Now, Headmaster Vaughn and also John's uncle? Grandfather? I think Headmaster Vaughn is getting replaced this season. Now, or maybe they'll just attempt to remove him from his role as Headmaster. Now, I do think, the reason I think this is because Claire's vision from episode 231, where she saw John in front of her house. John was in his Wellston uniform, and I don't think there's any other circumstance where he would be in his uniform except for at Wellston. So I do think it's possible that Headmaster Vaughn is going to be replaced at some point in this season as Headmaster, and it's going to be with John's uncle or grandfather, whoever it is. The person with white hair that we saw in Claire's vision, definitely related to John, just based on like he having the same hair color as his mother. And I think he also had the same eyes too. That's right, because Jane, John, and John's uncle, if I'm correct, they all have the golden eyes. So you get, in the world of UnOrdinary, you get one parent's hair color and your other parent's eye color. Seems to be a recurring thing throughout the series. Now, I do think that Vaughn's going to go out swinging, and I do think, Vaughn and Keen, I do think we will finally get their abilities, because Uru has made us wait far too long for so many characters' abilities. And I do think that Headmaster Vaughn, I think he has gravity manipulation. I think that's what he is. Or maybe spatial manipulation. Who knows? Anyway, that's my thoughts for Headmaster Vaughn and for John's uncle. And, speaking of John's uncle, I brought up Claire's vision. Claire is not out of the woodworks yet. I definitely think that Claire and Adrian, or at the very least, definitely Claire, I do think that they will be returning this next part, and I think they will be major characters and allies in this next part as well. Claire seems to be friends with Serafina. They've been talking a lot lately, and Claire seems to really like Serafina, so I definitely think that Claire will come back to the story, Adrian as well. And I do think that maybe she won't become friends with John, but maybe she will see that John's actually trying, and she will be willing to help out in whatever capacity she can with her visions. And who knows? Maybe Claire will have an awakening, and maybe she will skyrocket to high tier somehow. Maybe she will learn how to control her ability instead of just it happening at random. That's just what I think, really. I definitely do think that, you know, Claire and Adrian will be returning to the series. All right, another big one right here. Cuyo. Now, I think, no. There's definitely two possibilities going on with Cuyo. And honestly, I don't know which one I lean toward. I don't know which one I lean towards more right now. The first option or the second option. The first option for Cuyo is that, you know, he honestly did turn a new leaf during his time at Wellston with Ray. And I think he, you know, is Ray's friend and truly is a hero. Now, that's honestly what I hope. So I do think that, you know, we're going to see a little bit of him. And I do think, you know, like, Blythe will be like, hey, like, I know someone. Like, he offered to, like, help me train along. Like, Remy, we can get into contact with him. And so, and, you know, that'd be really cool, you know, seeing Remy, you know, kind of like, seeing Remy and Blythe kind of get a big brother figure who was really close and connected with Remy's brother, Ray. And so I think that'd be a really cool and interesting story to see. And who knows, maybe he will even die trying to protect and save Remy, you know, trying to save his best friend's little sister or something like that. That's what I would want to happen, honestly. I do want to assume the best for Cuyo. But what I think is more likely to happen with Cuyo is that he's a false hero. He's a member of the authorities posing as a hero to lure out other actual heroes and ambush them with Ember. And I do think possibly he may be working with Cassandra. Now, Cassandra, she may or may not be a member of Ember yet. Full on. She may not be a member of Ember. She's definitely a member of the authorities connected to Ember. But you know, maybe she is just going right now just to talk to these kids. You know, maybe she's not going to pull a Keon and, you know, like torture them like they did John or like others at the readjustment facility. Maybe she is just going to go talk, you know, like what Nadia did with Serafina. You know, she, like, hey, like, I need to know what the hell's going on. Like, what were you two thinking? Like, you guys need to stop this immediately. But maybe, and like I said, with Cuyo, maybe he's a false hero. Maybe he's luring them out to get them into a false sense of security and everything, so he can take them to Cassandra and she can confront them completely. And I do think the fight between her and Remy and Blythe, or even Remy and Blythe versus Cuyo and Cassandra, I think that fight's gonna be insane as hell. Now, I'm gonna call this right now. Do I have anything to back this up? Absolutely not. Nothing at all. But I think that actually Flame Claws is Cassandra's ability. That's what I'm calling right now. That's her ability. Her ability is Flame Claws. Now, if it's not, and she just has the Flame Claws because clearly there's something going on with Ember and, like, you know, giving other people different abilities, which I do think is connected to John's mother, by the way. I'm just going to toss that out right now. I'll bring it back at the end, but it's possible that she has the Flame Claw ability, because that seems to be Ember's signature thing, but I think that Flame Claws is her ability. That's that there. So, that's what I'm thinking for Cassandra and Cuyo. I want Cuyo to be a good guy. I want Cuyo to be an ally. But who knows? He may not be. Now, Holden. I'm calling it right now. I think Holden, we are going to learn Holden's ability now. We're finally going to see Holden in action. We better see Holden in action, Uru. You have been making us wait for this character for God knows how long. He's the 10th strongest student at Wellston. He's Arlo's friend. Actually Arlo's friend. This guy has to have something up his sleeve. Now, how do I think we're going to see Cuyo's ability unrevealed finally? I think that we're going to see Holden versus Zeke, actually. And I think that'd be fucking cool. Two light-haired blue guys, two light blue-haired guys going up against each other. And, like, not that big, not an unreasonable power gap between them like there was with Blyke and Isen. I think that's possible. Like, I think that'd be crazy. I think that'd be awesome. Like, Uru, just show us the ability. Just tell us what his ability is. Make it cool. Give Holden a meta ability like John. That'd be batshit insane, you know? Like, that'd be crazy, right? Like, what I will call Holden, the king's jester, the king's right hand. Like, having a meta ability, like, you know, like, he's clearly not the strongest student, but, you know, clearly something's going on with him. He's the 10th strongest still. Like, that's still something in this world. He has the friendship of the former king. There's got to be something special about Holden. So I'm, meta ability. I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, that's what I think about Holden. Now, number 9. Student number 9. I think we are finally going to meet student number 9. And honestly, I hope, my biggest hope, I don't think number 9 is Terrence. I don't think number 9 should be Terrence. Like, that'd be cool. Like, you know, like, I'm sure that's what a lot of people are expecting. And a lot of people are probably right. You know, like, maybe it is Terrence. But I don't think number 9 should be Terrence. Now, why do I think that? Well, because the top 10 chart of Wellston, you know, Terrence is kind of a different case because, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be saying, oh, well, like, you know, John entered the school and, like, you know, like, we never knew his level, but we knew he was number 2. Yeah, but, you know, like, no one knew his ability, but we knew that he was the second strongest student. And, like, the thing with John, though, is that John had actual records, correct records, when he entered Wellston. John requested that his ability level be kept secret, though, or not be made public to students. That's not the case with Terrence, though. Terrence entered the school with false records, with falsified levels. So, personally, I don't think it would make sense. I think that Uru could definitely, you know, like, throw a loop and, like, you know, like, yo, actually, this is what Terrence's level actually is. But he's not ranked that in the school because that's not what the school records show. I think that number 9 should be a brand new, fresh character that we've never met before, honestly. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't be against that. You know, we haven't met every student in Wellston. Holden's barely involved with anything. You know, so I wouldn't be against Uru just showing, like, Uru just flat out saying, here's a character that has been here the whole time. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they've been on vacation or something. Maybe they've studied abroad or something. But here's the 9th strongest student in Wellston. I hope you enjoy them. You've never met them before. No, it's not Terrence. That's what I would like. I would like a fresh face character, you know, ally or adversary. Make it cool. Make it epic. You know, make them cool. The 9th strongest student. 9's my favorite number. If it's Terrence and, you know, like, that little dweeb holds the rank of my favorite number, I'd be pissed. You know, I'm just going to say that my thing got more credibility right now. Number 9 is the elusive Oriel, who we have not met yet. Now, you're probably thinking, Oriel, that name sounds really familiar. You're right, it does. Because Oriel is who Elaine was partnered with for the project, for the projects, the English projects, John's first year at Wellston. And there was kind of like a thing going on with the project partners where they were all close in level or around there. Blyke and Isen were, you know, a mere like point or 2 points in terms of level. John and Sarah were the strongest students in class. Everyone was around the same level. So I think, you know, Elaine, probably an elite tier at that point. Oriel, also an elite tier. Maybe a few steps above. But here's what's interesting about Oriel, and I'm gonna have to pull this. I'm gonna have to pull this picture up. I'm gonna have to dig for this, but Oriel is a contact that Serafina has in her phone. Now, maybe Serafina just has the contact of everyone in the school, but no one really seems to like her. But this is a character we've never met, and it's someone that Serafina, in some capacity at least, talks to. So I think the one, the only Oriel is student number 9. And I want to meet her. I want to meet her, Uru. So, I'm calling it right there. Oriel, she's student number 9. Now, this is the big one. I think it's possible that before this season's over, or when this season ends, the season finale, I think it's possible that William is going to die. Now, we saw based on the finale of the first half of season 2 that William had a friend or a private investigator looking into Jane, his wife, assumingly, and John's mother's disappearance. And he found that, I believe, she was at a facility being kept by the authorities. And, I think it's very possible that William's going to dig deeper into that, maybe even with the help of John and Serafina and Arlo. They're going to look for... That's why Arlo goes to the authorities. John finds out maybe about his mother, or Serafina finds out and tells Arlo about that. And then Arlo's like, I'm going to figure out what's going on. I'm going in. Don't worry. But why do I think William is going to die? Well, that right there. He's having the authorities investigated for the disappearance of his wife, which is very valuable to them for some reason. But also, he's a big factor in the world of UnOrdinary. He's caused recent major discourse in the world. High tiers becoming superheroes, high tiers going against the norm, high tiers rebelling against society to do good. And so there's a big target on his back, even if it seems like there isn't. I think there's big reason that they would want to keep an eye on him. And so, yeah, I think it's possible. And also, he's the father of John, one of the most dangerous high tiers in society. And also, he is trying to go against what they taught him, or what they told him when he was at the readjustment facility. John is actively going against everything, and William was a symptom. William is one of the main causes of that. Basically telling him that what they did to him is wrong, which it was. So, I do think it's possible that we will see the death of William, unfortunately. And in regards to John's mother, I do think that it's very likely that she has an ability similar to John's, but I think she may also have an ability akin to All for One from My Hero Academia. I think that Jane has the ability to take abilities from other people. I think she has the ability to hold countless abilities, which would explain how Ember is able to take abilities, maybe even mass produce them, and, give them to other people. They would need another meta ability in order to do so. And I do think that Jane's ability, the reason why I think it's much stronger than John's ability, is because, assumingly, Jane is probably a pure-blooded god tier. Jane is probably a 10 on the ability scale. Now, what happens when a level 10 has a child with a cripple? At least, I'm assuming William's cripple. I know a lot of people think he isn't, but Uru has confirmed that William isn't definitely cripple. The child probably has a much weaker version, or assumedly weaker version of that god tier's, of that level 10's ability. So, John being able to mimic and amplify his own aura to match that of another person, ascending, being a weaker version of someone who has the ability to take people's auras, I think that's possible. I think that, that's my prediction for Jane, is that she has an ability that is much stronger than John's, and, permanently take someone's ability and, or to give it to other ones and mix them even. and, you know, also needing it to be mass produced and given to other people. Akin to Valerie, Vulcan, you're not fooling anyone there, Uru, like, we know. You know, akin to them having the Flame Claws ability, but Arlo definitely stating that she has a barrier like me. So, that's what I think. That's my major predictions for Season 2. Let's throw another one out there. The piece of shit, Keon, maybe he will see what's going on, and maybe he will be like, you know what, no. I didn't sign up for this. Like, I'm not, like, I don't agree with superheroes, but we have no business killing those people. So, maybe Keon doesn't know about what's going on at the authorities. Maybe he doesn't. But that's it, guys. Those are my predictions for now with what's going to be happening this season, the next half of this season in UnOrdinary. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you all back very soon. Maybe even tomorrow for Season 2, Part 2 of UnOrdinary. Uru, thank you so much for your hard work. If you use any of these ideas, send me my check. Send me my check, Uru. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think is going to be going down this season and what you hope goes down this season down in the comments. Guys, it's good to be back. See you, Space Cowboy.